Hello everyone and welcome to the movie show. I'm your host Tyler Calkins, and today's video is going to be about my most anticipated movies of 2020. I kept this as a top 10 list because I didn't want it to get too crazy, and let's dive into it. Right now, my number 10 on the list, and some people might not love this, but my number 10 on the list is going to be Marvel's Eternals. You know, I feel like what's interesting about this property is the fact that Marvel has just come off of like their huge culmination. Yes, we had Spider-Man Far From Home as kind of like a dessert, but now they're transitioning, and like Black Widow's coming along, but that's kind of like a prequel, you know, standalone kind of its own thing. I know it's going to connect to the MCU, obviously, because, you know, Black Widow was such an integral part of the entire, you know, 22 build-up of the Infinity Saga. But that said, this is where I think things are getting very interesting for Marvel as they move into Phase 4. And Eternals, to me, is the first true Phase 4 film, where you're getting something new, something fresh. What is the future? So that is very exciting to me. I think the cast is pretty wild. You've got Richard Madden, you've got Angelina Jolie, you've got Camille Nanjiani, you've got, I think Salma Hayek is in it. You've also got Kit Harington. So you have this really diverse, interesting cast, young and old, playing these Eternals, these gods. I think it's a very fascinating concept, and I'm intrigued to see how Marvel not only pulls it off, but if their fan base, I mean, the fan base of Marvel is so strong and it's so vocal, and you know, is that audience is always going to be on board, but is the general audience who, you know, helped power Avengers Endgame to almost $3 billion, are those fans those general audience fans gonna come and watch Eternals being so, you know, eccentric, eclectic, you know, original, its own thing, and the beginning of Phase 4? I think many Marvelites will be on board and are very excited, as they should be. My question is the general audience going to be there? I'm going to be there because I'm interested. I am actually pretty excited about it. Moving into number 9 is going to be an original film. And a lot of these films, interestingly, are original films. They're not sequels. So I'm very excited about that for 2020. But my number 9 film of my most anticipated film of 2020 is going to be Pixar's Onward. I think it's a really great cast. You've got Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who is a national treasure. You've got Chris Pratt and Tom Holland, who I think are going to be fantastic as brothers within the film, as they play this kind of, we're looking to, you know, cast a spell to you know, spend another day with our dead father, which is really dark, to be completely honest. And I think is, again, Pixar maybe pushing the envelope too much in the emotional realm sometimes and really pulling at our heartstrings, but it also has this very Weekend at Bernie's vibe that I think is really cool and fascinating and cool to look at. You know, as someone who's lost their father, I think for me it's going to be emotionally just like a gut punch, but also I hope it has this uplifting element. So I'm very excited to see, you know, what that film can end up being. It also has this mystical, magical kind of piece to it, which I don't know if I, you know, I'm not a mystical, magical guy. It's not really my thing. Like Lord of the Rings to me is the best fantasy, but I'm very interested to see Pixar kind of dive into that realm. So it'll be cool to see what we get. And the first trailer was really cute and enjoyable, so that should be really fun. My number 8 film of the year is going to be Birds of Prey, The Return of Harley Quinn. I'm so excited for this movie, and I was excited before the reviews came out. Like, I had this list all written up before the reviews dropped earlier this week, and now I'm just over the moon excited about this movie. I you know, again, I feel like all of us DC fans were like, oh, you know, I wish it would have been, you know, Gotham City Sirens. I wish we would have gotten Poison Ivy and Catwoman. I wish we would have gotten more known rogues. But that said, you know, this movie really, so far from the marketing material and everything that I've seen, just looks really great. Plus, with those reviews coming out to really get us all hyped, is just really, I'm really excited for this movie. I felt like what's really great for this film is the fact that it does have that R rating. It really is trying to push the envelope. And again, DC's really being compartmentalized, which I don't know if I necessarily love or agree with, but I think it helps each individual film kind of be exactly what it needs to be as compared to connecting to this large, grander universe. That said, what I am concerned about and what I think DC does need to handle, and what Marvel has done so much of a better job of, is that you really need to make it a point to have these things be interconnected, so that way people do feel a need to go watch movie after movie, episode after episode, to stay on board. That's what builds you that audience and gets you billion-dollar picture after billion-dollar picture. So I don't want DC to be lackadaisical about that type of process, because they really need to get their story down pat and build and build and build to something grand grand and fantastic. Again, I understand why people don't love everything being interconnected, but I think for a whole movie universe, that is very important. So I'm excited for this film, but I also think it also needs to do its part to build itself into the larger DC universe, and these movies do need to work on being interconnected because that's what we all love. My number 7 movie of the year, my most anticipated movie of the year, is Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm so excited for this movie. I have really enjoyed all of the Warner Brothers MonsterVerse films. I enjoyed the first Godzilla, although I agree with everybody's complaints that for a Godzilla movie, there was like 14 minutes of Godzilla, which is really not appropriate if you ask me. Again, I get what they were going for with that first Godzilla film. It was supposed to be, more the monsters in the shadows, but we all go to Godzilla movies to see monsters fight. That's what we want. So I feel like Kong Skull Island was a wonderful, refreshing type of movie that just kind of came out of nowhere and was fun. And I was a big fan of the Universal King Kong film from Peter Jackson. So for them to bring that character back, at first I was like, man, I'm not really interested. But then that first trailer hit and I was like, oh yeah, okay, this is what I want. So, and then you got Godzilla King of the Monsters, which for me, the story wasn't fully there, but the monster action was everything that I was looking for from the first film. So I feel like as they've built up this kind of monster universe, I feel like we're building up to this Kong, Godzilla versus Kong, and I think it's going to be great. Now, my concerns here are that Warner Brothers before has done Batman and Superman. So they've done these type of huge, icon versus icon type of films. But unfortunately with Batman and Superman, it really didn't land. In hindsight, after watching it, and sitting with it for a couple years, I'm enjoying it more and more as the years go on. But I understand why people didn't love that film, and the Martha scene is derisive, and it's just, again, I get why people don't fall in love with Batman v Superman like I do, and I'm concerned that Warner Brothers might not have what it takes to make this film land, especially considering that they've got these diminishing box office returns for this type of, franchise. So I hope that they really, really, just knock it out of the park, and really when the first trailer drops, that's what's going to tell the story. Is are people on board for this or are they not? And I think Warner Brothers is being smart at this point by holding back on their marketing as to not, because Godzilla vs. Kong had a trailer a whole year before the movie came out, and I think that really hurt the film because people just, they were like, oh, this movie hasn't come out yet? Oh god, it's just too much marketing for that film that just really left you people not as anticipated for it as they should have had they kept the marketing a little bit tighter, a little bit closer to the film. My number 6 movie that I'm most anticipated for 2020 is going to be A Quiet Place 2. They just dropped that trailer a month ago, I think it was. The first film was just a revelation. I slept on it at first because I thought it was gimmicky from the trailer. I thought the trailer was fantastic, but I thought, how can you keep an entire audience of people quiet for 90 minutes? This seems impossible. And then I watched the movie, and my God, it's a triumph. It's just so fantastic, that first Quiet Place film. And I totally understand why Paramount is all head over heels of let's make this a franchise, let's get more sequels, because to be fair, Paramount, it really needs some hits after they've not had really any hits in a minute. I think their last big hit was Fallout in 2018. We really need a phenomenal breakout hit for them, and I think A Quiet Place 2 can be that franchise level type of film for them. John Krasinski's coming back, Emily Blunt is coming back, Cillian Murphy joins the cast. I love Cillian Murphy. It's just a really wonderful cast, and from the trailer we see that John Krasinski's going to be back in the film to some extent in flashbacks. Just really phenomenal stuff. I'm very excited for A Quiet Place 2. Link to my trailer reaction below in the description, so check that out as well. My number 5 movie of the year that I'm most anticipating, most excited for, is the return of Daniel Craig as James Bond, No Time to Die. That first trailer dropped also about a month ago. Also, my trailer reaction linked down below. You can check that out. But that trailer to me was as good as a Bond trailer has been since the Casino Royale trailer. It got me over the top hyped. I feel like, how lucky are we to have another Bond film with Daniel Craig? I think he is one of the best James Bonds, period. He made the best James Bond film ever in Casino Royale, and I really hope that this film matches that expectation, because it seems like from the trailer it can. Now, my concern is going to be the fact that this movie had a director, lost a director, so my concerns here is there behind-the-scenes drama that's going to come through in the finished product. I really hope Cary Fukunaga does a fantastic, phenomenal job with the film, and it seems like from this first trailer he has, but the question is there was a lot of behind-the-scenes drama. Will it translate onto the screen? I hope it doesn't, because I'm just very excited for this film. Going into the top 4 films for me, this is an original property. And I can't believe an original property like this is so high, but again, it just speaks to the director and the cast. My number 4 most anticipated movie of the year is Dune. Let's start with the director. Denis Villeneuve, and I want to be clear, I don't really know anything about Dune at all. I know it's a science fiction film. I know it has a huge fan base. I know that it's based off, I'm pretty sure, a book or a book series, and its fan base is loyal and has been around for a long time. I know they had a film that they made back, I think, in the 80s that didn't really hit it off all that well, but I hear that this story is very ambitious. So that's what I know about Dune. Other than that, I have no idea what it's about. That said, you've got director Denis Villeneuve as just... oh my God, he has just done phenomenal movie after phenomenal movie, and some of them I haven't even seen, and I know they're phenomenal. So I haven't seen Sicario. I know it's probably great. I need to watch it. I know I do. But I have seen Arrival, which to me is... the Arrival, at first I was like, wow, it's really darkly shot. It's kind of really running a little long. I'm not really quite understanding it. And you reach the final 20 minutes of that film, and I was sobbing. I was sobbing watching that film. I mean, it's just... that ending is one of the best endings to a movie I have ever seen in my life. Just incredible work from him on that movie. And then he comes out afterward and does Blade Runner 2049. And I like the original Blade Runner. It's surprisingly really good. But it is a slower film, and I understand why people, kind of fall asleep on it. I watched it in 4K. I watched like the re-release 4K, and oh my God, it's like watching the movie anew. It was really great. And what Denis Villeneuve was able to do with Blade Runner 2049 and continuing that story, I mean, just remarkable. The visuals, the sets, the score from Hans Zimmer, it's just absolutely phenomenal. Great work from him on that. And now we're going to get Dune. I cannot wait. Hans Zimmer's coming to score this movie, I'm pretty sure, as well, which just leaves me super, super excited. And beyond that, it's got this cast that is just incredible. You've got Timothée Chalamet, you've got Rebecca Ferguson, you've got Oscar Isaac, you've got Zendaya, you've got Jason Momoa, you've got Josh Brolin, you've got Dave Bautista, you've got Javier Bardem. Oh my God. What is this movie about? I'm pretty sure they called me to cast in it. Like, everybody is in this movie. It is just incredible. I cannot wait to see what we get out of this. So excited for it. Let's go ahead and move on to my number 3 film. This is going to be Halloween Kills. So I've been a fan of the Halloween franchise since I was a young child. I watched the first Halloween film when I was way too young. I was 6 years old, and I watched Halloween 1 and 2 back to back. I was 6 years old. I don't know what the hell my father was thinking when he let me watch it. But let me tell you what, I was terrified for years. I was horrified of Michael Myers. It wasn't until I was like a teenager and I really solidified those concepts of this is a movie, this is an actor, this is a set. It wasn't until I grew up enough there that like I became unafraid of him. Until then, I was absolutely terrified of him. First off, the Halloween score, that music, the Halloween theme is bar none one of the scariest themes ever. It's probably first place. Right behind it is like The Exorcist. It is one of the scariest horror themes, period, ever. It terrifies you. If you hear it in a dark alley, you will want to run. That is how it works. So when I heard that we were going to go ahead and get a sequel to the original Halloween, they were going to scrap all the other sequels, which I understand because it had gotten kind of muddled. Really, the mythology of that series has gotten quite convoluted. And for them to just be like, you know what we're going to do? One is the film, and this is the sequel to Halloween 1. And I thought that was brilliant because it just gave us such a fresh start. And then David Gordon Green, and I'm forgetting the other guy. He's from, oh my God, he's from like Vice Principals, that show on HBO. Why am I forgetting his? Danny McBride. Danny McBride wrote this story. Oh my God, Halloween, the new Halloween, it's hard to title these because it's like, is it Halloween 2? It's just called Halloween, but it's the sequel to Halloween, so it's a little confusing, and I'm glad they've kind of parsed this out now with Halloween Kills, and I think Halloween Triumphant is the final film title, which I don't love that title, but at least we're getting some differentiation. But that said, when they came out with the new Halloween and Jamie Lee Curtis was back, the story for the new Halloween is absolutely fantastic. The score in it, with John Carpenter coming back to score the film, that score was one of my favorite scores of that year. I downloaded it immediately because it's just absolutely phenomenal. And to deal with, like, this is trauma 40 years later. This woman went through hell. Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis, she has gone through hell trying to, fight back her demons of this one fateful night back in 1978, and now it comes back around full circle 40 years later for the sequel. She did a phenomenal job in the film. Andy Matichak, who plays her granddaughter, does an amazing job and shows you kind of the future of where the franchise can go. Jamie Lee Curtis does not die at the end of the last Halloween, but neither does Michael Myers, clearly. So I'm very excited to see where we go from here with Halloween Kills. We don't have a trailer yet, so I cannot wait to get one. And I will say this, for the ending of that last film, the house burning down, the score playing super synth, and the Strodes riding off into the sunset, or the moonlight, if you will, was absolutely beautiful. I can't wait for Halloween Kills. My number 2 most anticipated film of the year for 2020 is Wonder Woman 1984. Oh man, first off, I can't speak enough about Gal Gadot being cast as Wonder Woman. Her casting as Wonder Woman is right up there with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, with Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, with Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, and with Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I mean, those castings to me are about as perfect as we are going to get. And I feel like we need to pump out Wonder Woman movies, get a couple out as much as possible, because Gal Gadot is perfect as this character. The first movie, directed by Patty Jenkins, who is back again, and I'm so excited because she did such a phenomenal job on the first film. But that first Wonder Woman movie made me... I always liked Wonder Woman. I always knew her as a part of the trinity of, the DC heroes, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. So I always had known her and appreciated her. But I didn't realize how much I loved that character until I watched the first Wonder Woman film, and how much I identify with her. I get her brooding strength that comes when she needs to use it, but she is all about compassion and love, and I absolutely identify with that. So I 100% loved that first film. I loved the story within it. I loved, her being a fish out of water with Steve Trevor, and that No Man's Land scene, oh my god, is the best superhero introduction I have ever seen, bar none. That is the top of the bar. Everybody else has to reach it because they haven't met it yet. Every single time, when I watched the trailer and they showed that scene in the trailer, I got chills. Every time I've watched it in the movie since, I've gotten chills. That scene is about as good as you can get for a superhero introduction. She turns around, puts the tiara on. I mean, oh my god, phenomenal. I'm getting chills talking about it right now. It was the best superhero introduction of all time. Here's the bar. Everybody else has to reach it. And with Wonder Woman 84, the footage that we've gotten already is just... I love it. Wonder Woman is in this 80s setting. They've brightened up the costume, which I understand, because we're really leaving kind of wherever DCEU was at behind, and we're moving forward kind of with this new DCEU. And I love the footage that we've gotten so far. The Invisible Jet looked cool, if it is the Invisible Jet, which it seems like it is. And oh my god, that shot of them flying through with the Invisible Jet, and it's the fireworks, and I'm just like, it's her and Steve, and oh my god, I am ready. I'm so excited for Wonder Woman 1984. And the other thing that I've heard about this is the fact that it's supposed to be really a full reboot of the DCU. I heard that basically Wonder Woman is getting a bit of the Flashpoint storyline. This is just, things that I've heard online, things that I've read, and I would not be shocked by such a thing because DC would be smart in doing so. Rebooting their DCU franchise and doing it with Wonder Woman, who is one of their most popular characters right now, with one of their most anticipated films of the year. I think it's very, very smart of them to do that if that's the direction that they go in. And I think you could have a real reboot of the franchise where you have this Flashpoint where actors change, characters change, storylines change, and you get this brand new, fresh world. I think it would be groundbreaking, earth-shattering for the Hollywood comic book, genre to do that. And I really hope that they do that. As much as I love previous DCU films, I think Man of Steel is one of the best superhero films of all time, and I love Henry Cavill as Superman, but something has fallen apart and soured there. And it's just, Henry Cavill is the only one who hasn't tweeted support for, hashtag release the Snyder Cut. He's the only one who hasn't. So for whatever reason, that has fallen apart. Obviously, Ben Affleck has moved along because I understand that too, because from what I understand is that, he was supposed to die off in what was going to be Zack Snyder's second Justice League film. So he was only signed on for so much stuff. And that, we all knew that when he was cast as Batman to begin with. He was an older Batman. So it wasn't like we were about to get 20 years of him being Batman a la Hugh Jackman or Patrick Stewart as their characters in X-Men. We knew it was going to be a limited engagement. So I think now that his solo film fell apart and we weren't moving on with Justice League Part 2, it makes sense to recast Batman, try to reboot the DCU, and move on with the pieces people like Aquaman, like Wonder Woman, like Harley Quinn. Move on with those pieces. They've already recast Batman. I'm sure we're going to get a recast Superman at some point. You know, this is where the DCU is heading, and I'm very excited for it. I cannot wait. I love DCU films. I love DC films. I've loved them since I was a kid and I watched the first Batman, and the Dark Knight trilogy being one of the best trilogies of all time, and Man of Steel for me being one of the best superhero films of all time, and Wonder Woman being just a triumph, and just on and on and on. I do love them, but it's not without understanding their flaws. Justice League is a complete Frankenstein picture dumpster fire. Like, I can't stand that movie, and Suicide Squad is a total mess front to end. So I'm not without understanding that DCEU has their problems. And I also found Shazam to be a little too kiddish for me personally, but I get why people loved it. But again, I'm very excited, very anticipated for not just Wonder Woman 84, but the future of the DCEU. And finally, my number one most anticipated film of the year is Tenet. 20 years ago, Christopher Nolan made his mark and really messed with our minds with Memento. I remember first watching Memento, and just obviously every time anybody who first watches that movie, your mind is absolutely blown. You're like, wait, this just ended, but we ended at the beginning. Wait, where are we? What is happening now? So to me, it was such an incredible, unique film that just stands the test of time, is an incredible story, and really just blew the doors off of Hollywood and to make Christopher Nolan the name that he is. And then about 10 years after that, you get Inception, which is just, to me, at the time was a modern day masterpiece and an American classic. It is absolutely everything that you want from a science fiction film, from an action film. The score in it from Hans Zimmer, again, mentioning Hans Zimmer again, one of the masters, him and John Williams, like the masters. Just phenomenal score from Hans Zimmer. Inception is such a special film to me. I love it so much, and the story and just the actors. I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio, Michael Caine, Tom Hardy, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Ellen Page. The cast in that movie was phenomenal. So moving along with that, I feel like, 10 years later after Inception, we're about to get another modern day masterpiece and an American classic. And I think that's going to be Tenet. I really do. I absolutely do. I've watched the first trailer. Obviously came out about a month ago or whatever the case may be. And again, link to my trailer reaction will be in the description below. But that first trailer gave me absolutely all the vibes that you love about a Christopher Nolan film. It's going to blow your mind. It's going to give you some action sequences that, yes, I do understand Nolan sometimes hurts himself in the action sequences, but he also shoots an action sequence. For me, I think like he loses out in the fight choreography, but he shoots an action sequence like no other director working right now. It's like Spielberg levels of perfection in the action. So, he just does a phenomenal job. And then you've got John David Washington, which I think is so deserved for him to have a leading role in a tentpole, blockbuster, high-budget film. He did such a phenomenal job in BlacKkKlansman. I'm very excited to see him just break out with this film. You've got Robert Pattinson in it. So you've got not the Godfather of Batman, but we all know the love that we all have for what Christopher Nolan did with the Batman characters. So to have the new Batman in a Christopher Nolan film, let them mingle and have a little conversation. All of us DC fans, I'm sure, are loving that piece of it. And then on top, Elizabeth Debicki, you've got, and what I find interesting is, because I always talk about score, you know me, I love movie scores, that's my thing. So I really feel, I'm excited because, God, I'm forgetting his first name, Göransson. Johan Göransson? It's not Johan. But Göransson, the guy who did the score for Black Panther is Ludwig Göransson, that's his name, who did the score for Black Panther and Creed 2, who those are just phenomenal scores, front to end. Really great work from him there. He's coming in to score this film, and I'm very excited because it's just Nolan kind of changing up his thing. Will it get awards buzz? I certainly hope so, because, I think Nolan deserves it at this point. I think that the Academy is shunning him, and I do not understand why that is, because he's just left such a mark on Hollywood that I think is so earned and deserved. So, I really hope that they can start to respect him. He makes phenomenal films that are just absolutely... I pretty much love every single movie that he's made. Dunkirk was the only one that I don't really super love, and that's because I don't love war films, but I still bought it because if you watch it, it's absolutely stunningly beautiful. So Nolan just knocks it out of the park every time. He's my favorite director of all time. So excited for this movie. What are your most anticipated movies of 2020? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with me where Tenet is at the top of the list? Or do you have different ones in there? Like you're leaning more like Disney, Pixar, and you're really excited for like Marvel, like Black Widow and Eternals and Soul and Onward, is that kind of more your milieu? Or are you leaning more towards like these original properties like Dune and Tenet and that kind of direction? Go ahead, comment down below. Tell me what your top anticipated movies are of 2020. If you like this video and you want to support this channel, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and ring that bell to the top. That way you don't miss any of my new content. As always, thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.